Hello everybody, I'm going to do a review on this 9-piece hollow punch set I picked up from Harbor Freight. This is item number 3838 for reference. These retail for $8.99. I applied a 20% off coupon, so I picked these up for $7.19 plus tax out the door. Not too bad. Now for anybody who does not know what these are for punching holes in things like gasket material or maybe a thin plastic or leather, things of that nature. You want to put a hole in it, pick your appropriate size, line it up, hit it with a hammer, and there you go. Now they do claim that on the box here that they are chrome plated to resist corrosion. That's not true in the set that I got. There is no plating on here whatsoever, but it means nothing to me in that regard. The weakest part of the product is the actual holder that it comes in. It's some form of something, but the one I looked at in the store, it was ripped out from the bottom. Of the two I looked at, this one was still intact, and I'd borrowed a set of these from my friend, and they worked great, so I went and bought one, and his was actually blown out as well. It doesn't make a difference to me, but there it is. Now in the sizes that it comes in, from smallest to largest, I'm going to rip these off real quick as fast as I can talk. 3/32, an 1/8 inch, 5/32, 3/16, 1/4 inch, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, and a 1/2 inch on the largest one. There are a couple things I don't particularly care for about them, but you know what? It doesn't really matter, but I will point those out as the video progresses, and I will go ahead and show some demonstrations on how well they work. Alright, well, we're in here with a tighter shot of the punches. I'm going to bust the negatives out first and then move into the positives, especially based on what I paid. First and foremost, these have just been taper turned up here to a point, so to speak. So when you are trying to punch your hole or whatnot, when you're striking this, you're only contacting that little surface. Now this will eventually deform down and become flat, but out of the box, in my opinion, they should have been flat ground on the top or turned, and then put a radius or a chamfer right here to help the mushrooming go into that area. No big deal, but that's what they are. Secondly, when they came in here with their keyway cutter to cut this section out, it's really rough and nasty. It doesn't really matter, it's just a cosmetic thing. The working end is right here, which is really what's important. The third aspect of it is when they did that keyway cutting and grinding and whatnot, this edge right here is extremely sharp. So depending on how you're holding it, you may be holding it somewhere in this arena, which I would not do. You may end up cutting yourself on those. So one thing you might consider doing, and it won't affect their performance, is come across here with a file and just widen this edge and knock that burr and that sharpness off there. Now moving into the positives. They do have a decent knurling on them. It's not a heavy knurling. It's kind of what I like. It's like I'd call it a flat knurl. You know, everything is flat through here, but it's enough to grip it. They have been heat treated, obviously. Hopefully you can see the bluish color down in here. That's from the heat treating process, and then after that they have been ground, and then their points here ground. Now I have verified, at least on this set here with my scale, that they all seem to be the exact correct measurement based on what they seem to be. Alright, I just wanted to point out real quick that you don't just have to make them for punching holes. You can actually use them to make washers. You can see where I've been punching out of this clamshell type material to make some very, very small washers. And here's one on the end of my finger. I was trying to source these out in a Mylar, but I just couldn't quite seem to get the dimensions that I wanted and all that jazz. So I just made them out of this material, and they're working just fine. You know, I'm not going to reveal, you know, what I'm using these micro washers for, but it's just a reference, you know, that you can make something like that with a little bit of patience and care to get everything centered. When you're piercing holes in material, you want to use a substrate that is hard but still yet forgiving. You certainly don't want to take one of these tools and drive through onto a steel table or concrete, because you will destroy it no matter what you paid for it. A piece of oak or maybe maple might be a good alternative. I'm using a piece of UHMV plastic, and this is a great thing for it. I believe I purchased this at Woodcraft in a grab bag or something along those lines. So let's make a few piercings here. Here's a piece of that clamshell packaging like I had stated I was using. And let me break out the 1/2 inch one here, and we'll just knock one in it real quick. So just put it where you want it and whack it with the hammer. And you can see I've knocked it right out. No problem. They will stick up in here, so you may have to put something in there to get it out. So this right here could be a disc for something, or it could be turned into a washer. Let's try a different material here. Here's a piece of very, very supple leather. So on this, I'm probably going to have to hit it fairly hard. Let's try a different size. Let's try this one here, 7/16. And as I was hitting it, I was rotating the punch just to make sure I got all the way through it. But you can see the plug I pulled out. That could be put on a door stop or something if you wanted to do that. And then of course there's the hole we just pierced. I do not have any gasket material handy here, and I wasn't going to go out and try to find mine. So I'm going to do something a little bit odd, which is, this is a Scotch-Brite pad. Why you would want to do this, I don't know. But let's see if it puts a hole in it. Well, it certainly did. There's the hole. And there's the Scotch-Brite plug. My final thoughts on this punch set is it works, and it works well. I have no complaints on it other than the few things that I had noted that I don't particularly care for, but then again, it's no big deal. For the money, you cannot go wrong with these, providing you take care of them and use them appropriately. You cannot be hammering on these into a steel table or concrete like I'd mentioned. But if you take care of them and you use a proper base or substrate when you are piercing the holes in whatever you're making, they should last quite a long time. So I hope this helps in some way. Thanks for watching, guys, and good luck.